Different location, but the same great guests from Caring Senior Service. I want to welcome Dean White to our program. Thanks.
Thanks, Michael. Good to see you again. Yeah.
This is probably a familiar kind of feeling for when you go do a visit in someone's home for the first time. You sit down with them at maybe the kitchen table or in a living room, and tell me what the start of that process is for someone who's decided that they may need some home health care.
Yeah, it's a great question. I want people first to know that I'm a no-pressure person.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get to know them. I want to understand their needs. I want to get to know them as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that a lot of companies, push the sale
Mm-hmm.
and put something in front of somebody to sign. That's not me.
Mm-hmm.
I really respect when somebody gives me time to think, and so I like to do the same thing too.
Right. And there's an assessment that you have to take, like, hey, do they even need my service, or to what level? Because you kind of have a full gamut of services you can provide, and you can pull back and add more as you go, right? So it's also part of this is like, do they even need me yet? Is it time for this?
100%. And now, if we're in-home care, a lot of times we are helping people with their medicine, for instance. It's a lot to keep track of, and sometimes if you take the wrong dosage, something bad can happen. Or we simply are helping somebody sort through their mail, or we're helping them with meal prep, or doing some light house cleaning.
Right.
But
we got a list up on the screen here, right, about what you guys provide, and these are some of the gamut of services. This is not a complete list, but it's a good list to start with, right?
100%. Like for instance, I think I brought up before. For our client Donna, we go over there in the morning, make her breakfast, give her morning meds, and then they do some laundry, clean in the house a little bit, and then they make her a lunch, and then they put a dinner in the fridge and leave, and they come back the next day. As little as that to somebody who needs somebody next to them, for 24 hours a day. But the main thing with all that is the communication we give to the kids. Now, this is a con. Sometimes the families don't want communication with the kids.
Right.
Sometimes they do.
Right.
Majority do. And so we let the family know, how mom and dad are doing, and it gives the family a good peace of mind.
Right. That peace of mind is an important thing because, especially for folks they've retired in another location and they can't drive over. They can't do a check on them, right? They're in a different state sometimes.
Yeah.
And there's that I hope I haven't heard from them today, and there's that worry. Is that alleviation of worry is kind of a big factor, right?
It's a big factor. And a lot of times, we mentioned just about sitting down in a living room like this and having a conversation. The questions that I'd love to answer are, should we put cameras in the house so we can check on mom? And what does that look like? Should we, is there paperwork that we need to put in order? I have questions about my trust. And I'm happy to answer all these. I have long-term care. When can I use it? I'm a vet. Is there any vet benefits? There's a lot of questions. And in-home care can really provide a lot of help. But part of it is just understanding the world of, that I might need help one day. Now, there's also three big buckets. It's in-home care, 24/7.
Right.
Home health, which often happens after you go into the doctor for surgery, and then they send a home health nurse twice a week to check your meds, see how you're doing. And then the last one, of course, is end-of-life hospice. And we work with each one of them, but it's nice to know what those buckets do and when to call them.
Right, and sometimes it's just, hey, I need somebody to get me through, like you said, this recovery from a surgery where I'm going to need the assistance, and my kids are in another state, they can't fly out here, and I need this for a month, a 2-month kind of period.
It's a great example. A lot of times there is just help with recovery after a hip or a shoulder. We've had people who break a rib, and then we go in there for 2 or 3 weeks until that rib is healed, and then they say, okay, great. With me, they don't sign a contract. They just sign an agreement that as long as you need our help, we're here to, this is the cost for that. But there's not a contract. You're not blocked down into care.
Now, a lot of people who enter their retirement years, it's going to be fun. We're going to travel. We're going to do these things. Then they get to the later stage of that, and they know they need help, but they don't want to ask. And sometimes I feel like that fear is the biggest barrier to getting help and creating change in their lives, because they don't want that change and they're afraid of it. What do you say to folks who they don't want to do this? They need it, but they don't want to do it because there's a bit of fear of change and how it's going to be disruptive in their life.
Yeah, I think with a lot of things, it is to try it and know that you're not locked in. Give it a chance, and just one time, we can go over for 2 hours. and see if it's the right fit. You know, if the person isn't the right fit, we can try a different person. But and all the things that we could help with that might just enhance your life versus deter your life. For instance, we have a lady in Laguna Woods that had an eye procedure, and the doctor just hit the eye wrong, and she's blind, unfortunately, now in one eye. She lives on her own. She's great. She's phenomenal, very, very bright, but it's hard to reach that top shelf. It's hard to sort the laundry. And so we have a caregiver that comes over, and it is now enhanced her life versus, can you imagine her doing something and slipping and falling and breaking a hip or a rib or a shoulder or a wrist? You know, how can we come alongside so you get the most out of life, not the other way around?
Now, cost is a factor, like anything in life. This service isn't, provided for free. What are some of the price ranges, and what can people do to make sure that there's an affordability for the care they need?
Great question. Really a big, impactful question.
Yeah.
So one is that, choose a company that's going to be flexible with you. Now, we have a flat rate. And so, and if you mention that you heard us on Laguna Woods TV, then, you get $2 off per hour, which is great. And then also we don't do a sign-up fee or a service fee, but we work with long-term care if you have long-term care. If you don't have long-term care, then we're going to work within your budget and show you ahead of time what everything costs, and then let you think about it. There's not a pressure there. And then there's other ways that, there could be something that you want to refinance on the house or do something else with the house, like a reverse mortgage or something, but that would be something if there was nothing else that we could tap into.
I have an experience with a friend of mine whose parents are fighting them tooth and nail because they do need help. It's the father had a stroke and the mother can't do the caretaking, but they're fighting. I don't want disruption in my house. I don't want strangers in my house. How do you help people get through that process of this change, again, that they kind of fear coming in?
Yeah, it's a really serious question, right? I mean, here's somebody new, and husband had a stroke, wife feels that she needs to take care of him. Our goal is that we do the caregiving so that the wife can be the wife, so that the daughter can be the daughter, the son can be the son, or the husband can be the husband, so that they're not doing the caregiving. And it's a lot on somebody if somebody is, taking care of them to give them a bath, feeding, changing a diaper, or changing undergarments of any sorts. If there is a wound that needs to be taken care of, if there's also demands of going to the grocery store and meal prep.
Right.
So my feeling is, don't sign a contract, but step into something that you at least have somebody come in and try. See if there is a nice lady or man that can come alongside you. Talk to the neighbors and see, do you have a caregiver? Who is this caregiver? I have seen that people that have been reluctant found it very, very rewarding, and the fear goes away and more freedom comes into their life.
Right. They can, like you said, they can stop being the caregiver and start being the husband, the spouse, and that whole thing.
Done to cut you off, I'm so sorry.
Sure.
But the people buy things and spend $1,000 for a phone. We'll spend $60,000, $70,000 for a car with the hopes that it's going to give them freedom and enjoyment, right? And they take this big, huge. I just was in somebody's house yesterday. They put in one of those elevators that move you down, like across the stairway.
Yeah.
$18,000. They barely use it. Why not try somebody who would be a lot less money, a couple $100s, to see if that increases your freedom a lot much more than a materialistic thing that is just going to sit in the driveway or not be used that much.
When we talk about the fear of having someone come in your home, the change and disruption, how do you vet the folks who are coming into those homes? That's a sensitive area.
Great question. Yeah. So all our caregivers are put through a background check. We check them through 7 different agencies, if you can believe it. Wow. So the DMV to make sure they don't have a DUI. We check elder abuse, child abuse. If they've harmed a child, they're going to harm an adult. So anything that pops up in those things, they get cut out. And so they go through 7 different agencies for background checks. We also check references, and then they're also licensed and bonded before they come into the house.
Now let's talk a little bit about what people can do in terms of making sure they can afford long-term care for a period of time. What are some of
Yeah.
the things they can do in terms of their life insurance or their homes and those kinds of things?
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that if they have a life insurance policy, there's a good chance that there might be long-term care benefit to it, or that they can actually sell the life insurance. And people are like, no, I thought I had to only be able to use it when I passed away. Actually, there is a lot that you can do with life insurance. And so I always tell people, give me a call. I will help you alongside of it and see if there's anything that we can do with life insurance, anything we can do with your current house. But my goal is to maximize your income, and so that or maximize the benefits so that you can have the help and care that comes alongside of you.
All right, that's going to wrap up my first home visit with Dean White from Caring Senior Service. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Michael. Great seeing you.
You're watching This Day. We'll be right back.